The world turns, and with each turn, a change. And each change makes it more complex, unpredictable, enigmatic. The world keeps turning. And from the Pellicer and Heredia practice, we anticipate everything that is going to happen. Brexit, artificial intelligence, new commercial borders, legal tech. The world keeps turning, and it commands the reliance on international lawyers who are capable of interpreting this new reality with integrity, honesty, and transparency, offering answers to so many new questions. Whatever it is, ask us. At Pellicer and Heredia, we know how.
Good afternoon. Thank you everyone for joining us today on the in January 2024. Happy New Year. We're starting with a lot of strength and happy to share with you knowledge about relocation in Spain. I have on one side, we are three today. I have on my left hand side, I have Pedro Heredia. Hello, Pedro. Can you listen?
Hello, Ignacio. Hello, everyone. Hi, Michael. How are you doing?
Then we have on the right-hand side, south of Spain, Andalusia, Michael Davies. Hello, Michael.
Hi, Ignacio. Hello, Pedro. Hello, everyone.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time and making it happening today. I know it's difficult to accommodate on the time and then spending some time to talk about law in Spain. Today, we thought it would be good, since we're starting the year 2024, as talking about relocation in Spain. A lot of you, we all get a lot of questions about moving to Spain, relocating to Spain, and you all have a lot of questions about immigrations for those who are non-European resident, or for those who are resident European as well, how to get the paperwork in order. That's a very important thing. On the other side, you're asking us about the tax and when would I start paying taxes in Spain, a non-resident tax, resident tax, wealth tax, etc., etc. Then we get questions as well. Should I rent? Should I buy? Or not? That's another one. Children relocation as well is a lot of questions that you might bring into it. So I encourage you to please send us the question now, from now onwards, over, and we're going to try to pick up questions and answer. But even though we're going to start about all these topics about the relocation in Spain. Now, you as well could mention about public health or private health. This is another topic that I thought it would be very, very interesting to share with us. So please forward and send us the question. We're going to try to answer all of them as much as possible. If not, we'll try to organize a video conference with you if you really need further consultation. And we're going to take it, well, obviously I didn't mention about power of attorney, which is important, wills, and probate if necessary. Now, I'm going to start now bringing in the panel. I will start Pedro and Michael talking about making your mind, making a decision about living in Spain. Well, the first thing and piece of advice I will give you, once you make the decision to come over to Spain, is two things. One, talk to a lawyer who could help you and assist you on the immigration side, whether it's worth a normal visa, a golden visa, a non-lucrative visa, or probably if we could go into an easier residency permit, like living with a European or family reunification. That's some topics that if you are coming over to Spain is worth having it and sorted beforehand. Then you might make a decision as well on this consultation about tax scenario. Again, being very brief, I could tell you here that I probably recommend you to start from the 1st of July. Why? Because then you buy 1 year at a time. If you're still taking a lot of time to move, if it's taking time to sell the property back in your home country, and if you want to start the first year being no taxpayer, which might benefit because it's a lot of issues, a lot of hassle once you will start dealing with taxes and dual taxation treaty, etc., etc. Now, I mean, you could say as well, buying versus renting. That's important as well. In general terms, probably you might prefer to rent instead of buying a property here in Spain, etc., etc. Now, public and private help, when you first start, normally because of the visa, you're required a private insurance. But nevertheless, after 1 year being in the Padron, you could apply for the public help as well and join the system. Relocating to Spain as well with the children, you could join as well the public school. Obviously, you need the Padron, the TI or the NI number, and join in the public school, or you alternatively could just plan to join a private school. I'm going to pass over to Pedro a little bit to talk briefly about the immigration scenarios that you could have before committing yourself, very briefly, because I would like Pedro and Michael touch a little bit of everything and still have time to answer questions and answers. So, Pedro, from an immigration point of view, can you give us a brief for those who are listening from abroad and they are thinking how to step forward and move to Spain? Over to you, Pedro.
Okay, thank you, Ignacio. Now that we've done the touchdown on the scenario, obviously immigration is one of the topics that someone who wants to come to Spain or in a different way, any country, the immigration issue is something extremely important to start. Obviously, if you don't have a key in order to enter in a country, obviously there for all the situations about renting a property, maybe buying a property, and making a will or about taxes, everything is a consequence of once you really are going to get a visa or a residency in Spain. So immigration really is the entrance, though. It's really the entrance in order to come to Spain or any other country. We always briefly, I say always in Spain or European Union country, there are really two kind of queues. One of the queues is really for European Union citizens, and the other one is for non-European Union citizens. For Europe, and to be brief and summarize, as for European Union citizens, the requirements to apply for residency, which even though they are European Union citizens, they have to. Obviously, it's soft, it's very flexible. They can come to a liberty to move into Spain. And then once they realize that they want to live in Spain up to 3 months, then they have to apply for residency. There is no visa, obviously, for European Union residents. And the requirements are soft, in terms of financial means, in terms of access to the insurance or social security, are soft in those ways. And they are authorized always to live in Spain and always to work in Spain. Obviously, that has consequences, and we will speak about that, and Michael and myself and Ignacio, about once you live in Spain, what kind of consequences on taxes and consequences, for example, on wills, on inheritance, on these issues that normally we do not think on when you move into Spain, which is a dream in order to come to Spain, with the gastronomy, the sound, the way of life, the cost of living also is less normally than many countries. So in some ways, it's something that you don't think, but it has a connection when someone is resident in a European Union country in order to be able to, which law is applied to in case that something happens. Okay, on immigration, and when someone relocates, there are normally I would say two different ways. Relocation, obviously, when someone says, okay, I'm gonna invest in a property, and we have a golden visa, and someone wants to invest in a property which is worth at least 500,000 euros or more than 500,000 euros, property or properties, could be different properties, could be just one property, one villa, or could be 10 apartments, or could be like garages, and then you rent a property to live. At least you invest on real estate 500,000 euros. The golden visa allows you to work in Spain, allows you to live in Spain, to be resident in Spain. And if you don't want to be a resident in Spain, you can also decide not to be a resident in Spain. And we have clients, and this is an example, a real example, that they invest in properties, they invest in a villa, they invest on other properties sometimes, a commercial with a tenant, and get some profits, or apartments and get some tenants, and then move their family into Spain and inscribe the children in the school and move the family, and maybe the principal application of the golden visa move back and forwards to their country, business, international business, without being tax resident in Spain. If you live in Spain more than 183 days, natural year from the 1st of January to 31st of December, you become tax resident. So one of the visas that, in order to gives you the entrance door, is the golden visa. And then we have also a nomad visa, when someone wants to work remotely into Spain, into the Spanish system, which is a visa that is someone is employee of a company outside of Spain, which is based outside of Spain and do not have any branch or anything in Spain. And we'll be able to move to Spain with a visa, with a nomad visa, and work remotely in Spain with some requirements. But rapidly, it is that they have to have at least 3 months experience on the company, and the company has to have at least 1 year validity or existence on a country with activity. And then obviously you need to show that the pay slips is of some minimum amount, 2,400 a month, per month, for example, in these cases. And you will be able to move the family, obviously, with authorization with the company. And if someone is just a consultant, a self-employment, you will be able to move into Spain, as well also showing that at least you have 3 years experience on the field that you're going to work, and at least you have one of the clients. It's not authorization; it's just informs us, in this case, the government of Spain, that the work you're going to do is going to be available to do it remotely. So at least one of a visa we normally use when the clients relocate into Spain is an investment on property. Could be some of the investment, but normally 95% of the investment is in property, which is the minimum amount, 500,000 euros. And then we also have a nomad visa. Apart from that, obviously, when someone has a company, also we could start and open a company here in Spain with a branch of a different company to start business, with self-employment, opening a bank account, a bank company, with like a startup. And those situations also gives you the possibility to enter in a possibility of getting the visa or authorization to be resident in Spain. Apart from that, and this is normally where we do not, there is not a situation where you can work in Spain, but relocation into Spain means also could also be meant is done by people who just retire and they want to relocate into Spain, even though they're probably older and they just want to retire and relax and visit Spain. Also, there is a visa called non-working visa, non-lucrative visa, where you do not have to invest, you do not have to work. By the way, it is forbidden to work in Spain, and you just show that you have enough financial means, enough money to live in Spain. And well, between the golden visa, the requirements on the rapidness of the application, golden visa is rapid, normal visa is more or less rapid. There are some bureaucracy issues that we may get into this. And then the non-lucrative visa, non-working visa, it gets more time sometimes because you need to obtain the application from the Spanish consulate in the country where you are connected, resident. So, Ignacio, this is normally that we work with this kind of visa. Well, could be like an entrepreneur with a company, also could be a nomad, could be a golden visa with an investment, or could be a non-working visa. This is normally the visas or the immigration key, the immigration tools, entrance door into Spain to get a visa, and obviously the consequence to get authorization of being resident in Spain.
Okay, thank you, Pedro. I thank you for all your brief comments, and I will ask you if you could please read. We're having hundreds of questions here, and if we could summarize whatever you could answer, and then I'm going to jump on to Michael. Michael, when you relocate into Spain, you always, obviously, we'll talk later on about the taxes, but you know a lot about property. I know you're expert on probate, and you are one of the #1 people with probate and wills. But related to property, Michael, when they try to relocate into Spain, renting versus buying, could you please give a little bit of your expertise to say what you think about moving and renting, and what due diligence they need to do when buying a property? Because a lot of them are asking, to move and buy a property. Over to you, Michael.
Hi, Ignacio. Thank you for inviting me to the webinar. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Michael Davies. I'm a Spanish lawyer. I'm down here in Marbella. And we've been dealing with conveyancing, inheritance, wills, estate planning, inheritance-related litigation for about 25 years. Okay, so that's just so that you know, so that people know that I know what I'm talking about. Okay. So in a nutshell, when people come over here to buy a property, to fulfill the dream of retiring, etc., there are a lot of things to look into. One of them nowadays, of course, is the visa situation, as Pedro has been explained. So one of the things that British people didn't need to look into in the old days before Brexit was the visa situation. But now we definitely recommend that you speak to a visa expert before making the move, with somebody like Pedro at your firm, Pedro Heredia, as experts in immigration things. That's always a good idea. So regarding the other matters, the purchase, well, yes, renting a property is always a good idea to suss out the area where you want to be. Everyone thinks about Spain and thinks about the bullfights and the flamenco dancing, but the fact of the matter is that different regions of Spain are all very different. They're all very nice. They've all got lots of pluses, but depends on what you want. If you want boating, you should go to Baleares. If you want golf, you should go on the Costa del Sol. There are a lot of different things that you need to look into. And then if you can afford to spend some money on renting before you buy, then that's always a good idea. Regarding the process, always find yourself an independent lawyer before you actually purchase the property. We do recommend that the lawyer that you use for the purchase is fairly local. I'd limit your search to anyone that's within 100, 200 kilometers, certainly know the area and know the town halls and know the property registrars, etc. Have someone lined up even before you find the property, because the moment you find the property through the agent, everything's going to start working, moving forward very quickly. The agent's going to want a deposit put down, the €3,000. Otherwise, you're in risk of losing the property. So have the lawyer sort of all lined up and ready to go. So the normal process: you find a property, you're going to be asked for a small retention amount, normally €3,000, just to reserve it provisionally. And then your lawyer will request all the paperwork from the estate agent or from the seller's lawyer. He'll do the basic search, and then he'll set up a 10% deposit contract. At that time, you set all the time scale for the completion, which in Spain is normally anywhere between 2 months and 3 months. The lawyer will organize a power of attorney in his favor for purchasing, opening up a Spanish bank account, and requesting your Spanish tax numbers. If you're going to have the same lawyer deal with your immigration matters, like obtaining a golden visa, non-lucrative visa, etc., I definitely recommend putting it in the same power of attorney to avoid having to do two. So then the lawyer will go ahead, he'll open up an account at a bank of your choice, he'll request your NIE numbers, and then you'll be moving the money to that account in Spain in your name for the actual completion. So the lawyer will then fine-tune all the searches on the property and head towards the completion. I say normally 2 or 3 months. So on the completion, your solicitor will take sufficient funds to pay the transfer tax, the notary fee, the registrar's fee, his own fee, etc. And but on the day that you sign at the notary, you'll hand over the balance of the price, and it will take the solicitor about 2 more months to process the documents through the system. But the property is yours from the moment you complete at the notary. Most lawyers, definitely us amongst them, and I know you guys up in the Valencia region do it as well, we always recommend that everyone that buys a property in Spain makes a Spanish will in relation to their Spanish assets as soon as possible after they have purchased. So if the lawyer that handles the conveyance for you doesn't offer you a budget for the wills at the same time as the conveyance, definitely ask him whether he does wills or not, and otherwise contact another firm that can deal with the wills for you. I've been handling as a probate for over 25 years, and we've handled intestate processes, we've handled inheritances in Spain based on an English will, and I can and obviously the 90% of the cases handling using Spanish wills. I can guarantee you that the best thing to do is to make a Spanish will. Some time ago, a lawyer in the UK asked me what would be the biggest tips to avoid most of the problems that expats get themselves into when they buy a property in Spain. But he said, for some reason, I can only choose two. If I can just give two tips, well, one of them would definitely be to use an independent lawyer to handle the purchase, and the second one is to make a Spanish will. If you do those two things correctly, you'll avoid sort of 99% of the bigger problems that people get themselves into. Also, I always say that when after you purchase a property and it looks like a smaller thing, it's not very important, but if possible, get the lawyer or someone in their office to deal with all the direct debits and the services once you've purchased the property. That's electricity, water, rates, rubbish, community of owners, and sometimes gas as well. Get them to do it. If they've got someone in the office, it's much easier than you trying to get somebody else to do it or getting the translator to do that work for you. Ask him to throw it include it in the conveyance fee, or maybe ask him, what normally most lawyers, I know you do, we do as well. We've got someone in the office that deals with those smaller items that can actually be a big headache if you don't get them correct. I think that's in a nutshell. Nothing you've told me. I've got 5 minutes. So
yeah, that's very good. Thank you, Michael. Yeah, that's very good.
Minutes.
Yeah, it's excellent. Now, I ask you, Michael, if you could just pick. I mean, we're having hundreds of questions here, obviously, but if you could pick the ones you would like to take a note and then go on, because otherwise we'll run out of time, and I would like to run as much as possible with you and Pedro. Now, Michael, basically, obviously you went through a power of attorney, which is important. We went in wills, obviously, as well, is important. Now, some questions we were having about the public health. As I said before, you could only register if you are working. So we will talk about these later on, Pedro. A lot of questions about the NOMA visa and a high interest in NOMA visa.
There's a good question here that I'll take this one, and there's a great one there for Pedro as well about the golden visa. It says here, Michael, do you recommend that the probate lawyer be local to the region where I purchased my home, or does the importance of being local only apply for the lawyers involved in the purchase? Thank you. Okay, so, well, you know what I always say about this, and that is, for the conveyancing, I do think that being fairly local is a good thing. For example, in our case, as you know, because I've sent you clients up there to that area, you've done vice versa. I don't like handling the conveyance of properties outside of Andalusia. I just think that you sort of need to be the certain local knowledge that's always useful. There's the odd exception thing. Now, with inheritance, it's different because inheritance, when there's a Spanish will, doesn't even require visiting the area. So, I mean, in our case, we handle probate cases all over Spain, including the islands, and I think you guys do the same. I've got the same sort of system, so that's the answer to that.
Good, Pedro. Would you like to jump on it?
Okay, I will start with the first question. I think is from Jose. Let me just read it briefly. It says, "I'm a Cuban American and the USA retired, and also Spanish citizens since 2023." He's talking about the pension plan that he's got regarding the social security system and retirement. And he's planning to move to Spain, buy a property and live over there. I mean, this is something that obviously is a question that we receive a lot from, not just from the US, also from pensions that people get from different countries. So the main rule is really when you receive a government, and what it means government, it means that you have had a government work job. Normally, all the convention, and this one between Spain and the US, implies that the taxes are paid in the country where you are being paid. So the country, in this case, the US, if you work in a government job, which I don't think is the case, then the taxes are paid in the country, in this case, in the US. But in this case, I don't think it's that. It's just a pension plan, social security, where your work, part of that payment is being done to the social security, which is a state, which is a public system, but it's not a government job. So it means that once you become resident, I think it's in Article 20 or 21 between the convention between Spain and the US, what it says, specifically that you moved to Spain, you are retired, you live in Spain, so you will pay taxes accordingly in this country where you are resident, accordingly to the Social Security income that you get. But in this case, we will deduct some payments on taxes on Social Security that you pay in the US. Some payments are done there, just to be brief and simple, there, and we deduct it here. So at the end, you pay accordingly to the income that you have to pay in Spain, deducting any payment or taxes accordingly to the Social Security that you did in the US. So at the end, you do not pay double. You pay accordingly to the rules on taxes in Spain. Okay. So you will have to pay taxes in this case in Spain. Then we have another question by Elia. Thank you, Elia, for taking your time with the question. It says, if I got the non-lucrative visa by showing that I have only 7 accounts, will the IPREM be the same? And do I have to pay tax for 7 accounts? Well, non-lucrative visa, what we say, we need to show financial means in order to prove that you will have enough money to live in Spain. It's showing here in capital letters IPREM, I-P-R-E-M, which means this is like a minimum budget that is called, is really good, minimum salary, a minimum budget in Spain. From that criteria, we need to multiply into 400%, which basically means that you need to show at the end 28,800 euros that you will have access live in Spain per year. And a saving account obviously will give you the benefit because you will have access to the bank account, saving account of that money, and you will not have to pay any tax to having a saving account. I mean, imagine that you have a saving bank account with $50,000 in the US. You just show that, obviously with the translation into Spanish to the Spanish consulate with the immigration office, and that will be enough in order to give you authorization to be resident in Spain. And you will not be paying taxes into Spain because having an asset, in this case, these minimal requirements. We will speak if we have more time about wealth tax, but now is not the case. Let me just answer another question, the following one, by Jim. Thank you, Jim, for the question. Native US citizen. We are receiving a lot of questions, Ignacio and Michael, from US. Is that right? And we are having more and more US citizens to come to Spain. And also, he says, also Irish via descendant. My wife is a Spanish citizen who moved here about 25 years ago. She's now dual US Spanish. And, well, he's also Irish, I can see. I mean, questions affect if Spanish citizenship affects our ability to move into Spain. Obviously, she's Spanish. You also have a dual passport. You also have an Irish passport, which is a European Union passport. Obviously, you will have, as I said at the beginning, mainly a lot of big benefits in order to move into Spain and some requirements. She is Spanish, so she will obviously just entering Spain will be directly to be resident in Spain if you wanted to. And obviously, you as a husband or a European Union citizen, you will have a full access into the Spanish residence in Spain. And avoid tax residency. No, once you become resident in Spain, you attract worldwide income into the Spanish tax office. Once you become resident in Spain, I will repeat it, and you live more than 183 days in Spain, which is in order to be resident in Spain, you will be paying taxes in Spain worldwide. I mean, worldwide income, you have to declare it. And accordingly to the convention between Spain and the country where the money comes, the income, then you will pay in Spain, or maybe in that country, or maybe in that country and deduct it in Spain. But you have to declare worldwide income into the Spanish tax office. Okay, so you cannot avoid at all taxes to be paid in Spain or declared and paid in Spain if you become resident in Spain. What we do, and Michael and Ignacio, we always say, okay, well, let's make a simulation. What will be the taxes to pay in case that you move into Spain? So you inform us about your income, you inform us about where the money comes, where the income comes, by tenants, rents or properties, or work, dividends, interest, investment funds, whatever, pensions or government pensions, whatever it is. We will be able to make a simulation and we will tell you before you move what will be the scenario once you move into Spain and become tax resident into Spain. And also its possible effect on the will. Well, I think it's been said by Michael, what happens when you become resident in Spain? It's always recommendable, always, we think it's a must, obviously, to inform about, to declare what law will be applied into your inheritance in case you die. Because once you become resident in Spain, if you don't say anything, will be Spanish law. And Spanish law has different effects on who are going to be the beneficiaries on inheritance. So we understand it's a must. It's not an obligation, but it's a must in order to, obviously, to plan what will be the situation if you die.
Yeah. So can I just jump in there, Pedro?
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so we get lots of these questions when people some people don't realize that in Spain we've got 17 different regions, and different ones have got different levels of inheritance tax. But apart from the inheritance tax issue, lots of people worry about the Spanish system of obligatory heirs, because they're moving over to Spain and they're going to move over here to retire, and they may live here until they pass away, so they want to make sure that there's no problems with that. Well, I can tell you categorically, if you're from Canada, the UK, the US, Australia, you don't need to worry at all about this business of the Spanish system of obligatory heirs, but you do need to do things correctly to avoid the problem. It's really simple and straightforward. All you need to do is you need to make, because the Spanish system of obligatory heirs means Spanish people have to leave 2/3 of their estate down to their kids directly and can't leave their complete estate to their wife, to their spouse, as you would over in those countries very often. Maybe what you want to do. Now, really easy. There's a directive called 650/2012 that's been valid since 2015, and basically what that allows to do is that any foreigner that has assets in Spain can make a will in Spain and say on their will that they choose their national law to determine how they can distribute their estate. This doesn't mean they want to distribute their estate with their will in Canada or Australia. It means they'll distribute it with their Spanish will, but if they put that little clause in, I choose my national law to determine how I can distribute my estate, as long as they're in a country where you can in fact leave everything to each other, the spouses, and unlike is in Spain, then you can go ahead and do that and there'll be no problem whatsoever. But it is true, as Pedro says, that if you become a resident in Spain and you don't make a will in Spain saying that you choose your national law, maybe Canadian, English, US law, so if you don't make the will saying that, then it will be the Spanish law that will determine how you can distribute your estate, which has a big problem for people from those countries, and that is Spain gives priority to the kids over the spouse. But I say it's really easily avoided. It's not rocket science. All lawyers that handle, or all lawyers that handle conveyancing for foreigners should know how this works, and in fact most of them do. At least the wills that we see are all normally well made, but you need to make that if you put that clause in, there's no problem. So if people are sort of saying to you, well, you buy in Spain, I'm not sure whether you'll be able to leave everything to your spouse, and your husband's got kids from a previous marriage, will that cause a problem? It doesn't cause a problem. You just got to put that special clause in your will, and with that you're fine.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Pedro, would you like to add something else? Because you were running through...
Oh, that's perfect. That's fantastic. I mean, I don't know if Michael wants to just to answer some questions. I mean, I can see there are hundreds. We will not.
Yeah, there's another one here. I don't. Ignacio, maybe you've got one. You want to answer one? I've got one. I've seen here one at 1857 from a Canadian person that I'm happy to answer.
Right. Okay. Well, we're trying to cover everything. I know it's very, very wide and very difficult. So I really suggest people, if we don't cover everything, because obviously it's impossible, because we have here several legs. We have the immigration legs with a lot of questions. We have the taxation leg, which is important. Then we have the property issue here, ins and outs. So we're going to try to cover all. But if not, just you've got Michael's email, Pedro's email, my email, or just the secretaries to organize the video conference. Now, Pedro, would you like to carry on trying to summarize immigration so we could wrap up with immigration? I encourage the audience as well, if they go into a website, there are a lot of videos, a lot of webinars as well. So before the appointment, they could read and learn a lot about the blog and things, because just trying to squeeze and put it all together and probably just jump into the specific when we just meet. But Pedro, would you like to summarize? There is a lot of interest in Golden Visa. which I don't know if you cover about buying a property in one name or two names.
I will be reading from, I can see one of the questions by Sue. I think it's very interesting because it gets through the trust as institutions. We've been speaking about that many times. And well, the trust is not recognized in the Spanish legal system. Even having said that, the question regarding from Sue, thank you, Sue, is regarding if this money that is in the trust can be used in order to prove that financial means on the non-lucrative visa. Well, I don't have a clear answer on this. I would say that for financial means, because I think personally in our law firm, we have never done it showing the financial means of our trust. But what I would say is that in this case, if you show proof, whoever is the beneficiary, that has access, because that's the word on the financial means on the non-lucrative visa. If you prove that you have access to the money, then you will have a right in order to get and obtain a non-lucrative visa with the requirement of financial means. That's the key point, having access to the money, because at the end, the government of Spain, Immigration Office, wants to be sure that as you are not going to work, you will have money to live in Spain properly. And properly, it means around 28,800 euros minimum amount. That's the requirement is being set. For the principal, for family members, is 7,200 euros each one. Okay, but obviously, Michael, I think we have spoken about the trust really as it is. But in this case, I personally think that with the trust, I think it's very difficult to do it in that way. But at least if you can prove access, the beneficiary of the trust to that money and ownership of the money, then you will be successful. I think it's obviously a difficult question. Okay, someone wants to move to Spain in 2-3 years. It will not be a permanent move. We'll be flexible to rent or buy. We're currently living in Dallas. Well, okay, but that at least it gets a non-lucrative visa, or if it's non-permanent move, then at least that will have to be like the 90 days rule, 90 days, 180 days. If it's not a permanent move, because once you apply for the non-lucrative visa, non-working visa, you have to live in Spain. You have to be a resident in Spain if you want to renew. Non-lucrative visa, you get it for 1 year. And then after 1 year, you need to renew it another 2 years. And after another 2 years, another 2 years. And then 5. So it's 1 + 2 + 2 + 5. So once you get the authorization to be resident in Spain for 1 year, in order to renew, apart from the other requirements, you need to show that you've been living in Spain permanently, at least 183 days, at least half of a year. Okay, so in this case, if it's not a permanent move, we have to do it in a different, like 90 days, 180 days, or if he's going to buy a property which is worth more than 500,000 euros, they will be able to go back and forwards easily. We have many clients that have done that. Investment, golden visa, and do not live in Spain more than 183 days in Spain. Okay, Michael or Ignacio, if you read some questions that you want to answer, I will be reading the following ones.
I just want to mention, there was an interesting one, Pedro. I don't know if you did cover someone talking about the non-lucrative visa. It was about Sue, and it was about using the money from a trust.
Yeah, this is what I answered. Yes, actually, yes.
From Sue, you did answer this one, yeah?
Okay.
The yes one as well, yeah? The yes one, you did cover the yes one, yeah? Because
the yes one, about the yes one, I didn't answer that. Yeah.
Right. Well, then let me just get this one. If you're having the yes one that is covering the public health, that's great, okay? Because that means that you're having public health, and therefore you won't need private health. However, if you don't have the yes one because you are not an early retiree and you don't have public health covering, then you will need to apply for the first year private insurance health cover. After 1 year, you could join the Spanish system, which will be 65 euros if you're below 65 on a monthly basis. And after that, it will be 160 if you're over 65 years. And it will cover the whole thing. So there are no exclusions on it in health. Okay, so that's for Sue, Pedro. Pedro, would you like to carry on with this, or shall we just? I would like to mention before we run out of time, for those who are interested on the nomad visa, let me just make just a very specific scenario here. Some people with the nomad visa get confused, and I understand it's a complex issue, and you could go into a website, download Go Immigration, nomad visa, download the nomad visa guide, before we even need to meet each other to talk about any further. But there is people here that will need the nomad visa because they're entitled to get the visa, and they will be working remotely for a foreigner company. Basically, you need to have a company relationship, more than a year established, a company, 3 months relationship with them. And the beauty of it, if they allow you to work and you're working remotely for that company, you could apply, which is still being developed, the Beckham law, to the application to get the 24% flat fee tax. What does it mean? You will start paying 24% from all your income up to 600,000 euros income, and you will be taxed in your income. You will not need to be worried about paying anything else in that respect. That's with regards to nomad visa. Now, if you're European and you haven't been resident in Spain for more than 5 years, you could still apply for that possibility of working remotely and getting these beneficial tax regime, which goes from 24% up to 600,000, and from 600,000 47%. That's something I would like to point out. And if you want to dig a little bit more information, just click into our website, Go Immigration, Digital Nomad Visa, or just download the guide. Okay, I know we are covering a lot of them. The Golden Visa, I think we did cover that as well, about buying. Do you, Pedro, comment about buying joint or the Golden Visa, buying joint?
What is the question? What time is it, the question?
No. It's just about what there were some questions here about if they buy a property, it goes over 500,000 euros. They said it is per person, and to be honest, if it's you could buy in a husband or wife's name, but if you're beneficiary of the marital regime, you could use that, and you don't need to pay 500 the husband, 500 the wife. Okay, so you can still, but be careful here, and it's very important, if you're not dealing with the same person that you're dealing with the conveyancing. So if you're dealing a law firm that does one thing and not the other, make sure this is very clear, because some people might not even understand or know the importance of putting that name on the title deed, and that will cost a lot of money and frustrate the Golden Visa. So that's yep.
Yeah, let's put an example. For example, let's say that a marriage, they buy a property of 600,000 euros, and the regime, the rules of that marriage, which in some countries is like that, or you can change the rules by going to a notary. The rule of that marriage, that specific marriage, is that they have like a private assets. I mean, each asset of each one of them is private. It's not how to say it's like it's not part of a community of a marriage. It's not part of a marriage. So in that case, a marriage, they buy a property and they both together buy the property, and which it's worth 600,000 euros. It means that each one of them has bought 50%, and each one of them has invest 300,000 euros. So at the end, no one of them has invested 500,000 euros. So no one of them will be able to have access to the Golden Visa. In case that they have a regime, a rule that they have a community of assets, I mean, assets are part of a family, or whenever they married, it means that whoever buys, or even though they buy both together are able and apply for the Golden Visa, even though is worth 600,000 euros. I know this may be a little bit confused, but it means that at the end, if you are very individual and your assets are private yours, you need to show at the end that you invest 500,000 euros. Sometimes there is also a criteria, and it changed some time ago. And when someone said, well, what if I put a bigger percentage to my husband or wife in order to be able to prove that it has been invested at least 500,000 euros? and then I put like 20%, which means maybe 200,000 euros. Well, that's perfect. At the end, if someone with a private assets regime or marriage shows that has invested 500,000 euros, will be able to apply as a principal. But that is a key point also. It's an important question, Ignacio. Before, and a strategy before someone is going to buy a property, I mean, in order to check.
Yeah. So basically, in a nutshell, just so that we understand that, British people, when they buy a property in Spain, the notary is going to put on the title that they're married in separation of assets. It's a long story, but that's how it's worded. So for British people, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so for British people, if they buy a property in Spain, if they want the golden visa, there's no good buying a property of 600,000 euro in joint names if you're British, because for the golden visa they need 500. British people need 500,000 euro in each individual name. So if it's a married couple and you're from Great Britain, if it's another nationality, just ask the lawyers going to handle the golden visa. But in the case of British people, which is most of the inquiries that we have since Brexit, in case of British people, and the criteria could change, but at the moment, if you're British and you're going to buy a property of 600,000 euro, we'd have to basically buy the property in one name so we can request that golden visa and then put the other spouse down as a dependent on that golden visa. This is the case of British people.
Michael, it will be important in this particular case when they do the purchase, they sign the will as well.
Always. So basically, the immigration thing, the purchase, and the will. That would sort of be the package. That if you could do it in one single place, it would be better. And if sometimes a lot of offices don't do the golden visas. And with the wills, most lawyers that do conveyancing will do a sort of straightforward, simple will. It's not what we recommend. We recommend you get a specialist, but it's better than nothing. But so you can get it all under one roof, great. If not, at least get the lawyers to talk to each other. So if you're going to buy a property and he's not going to do the golden visa, at least let him have a little word with the lawyer handling the golden visa, so that they coordinate and don't sort of blame each other later for something not going the way they want it.
Yeah, and actually that's the case, Michael, because it is a bit quite frustrating when they just come to the office, they already purchased the property, and you start digging on, and then it makes not possibility. It is impossible the way they structure the purchase. So sometimes this advice is so if you are moving to Spain, you need a visa and you're buying a property, try to have, as Michael said, all the advice beforehand, because otherwise it could jeopardize. Specifically for the golden visa, you could jump on to the non-lucrative visa, but probably you're planning to work, and that could be an issue. Or probably you could just jump into a normal visa. A lot of consultations we do is you describe what the situation you're in, and then we just try to filter through all the possible visas that you could fit into and what is the best. Then on second stage, we'll talk about the taxation. As Pedro said, what is a possible tax scenario for you, and what is the whys? That's when I said somebody was asking why moving over from the 1st of July. Well, you can move anytime you like, and don't get me wrong, what I'm trying to say, that if you're more than 183 days in Spain, you will be Spanish tax resident and you will need to do everything from here. Alternatively, if you start the first year after the 1st of July, or you don't need to be after the 1st of July, if you're doing it in a row, yes, but if you're just coming back and forth, don't spend more than 183 days in the first year to try to do things easily. But if you're clear with everything, we're happy for you to do the way you consider is best. Okay, so that was one of the questions that Michael, what else?
Okay, there's a question here by Mr. Osvaldo Esprino. He's a Canadian, and he's asking basically, what about the coordination of wills and things like that? Okay, so just put people's mind at rest. There is no complication with this. In other words, yes, if you read online, you'll see that most lawyers, we do as well, always recommend having one will in each country where you have assets. And people start thinking, well, how do I make sure one doesn't revoke the other and things like that? This is really, as I say, not rocket science. It's really easy. A later will will revokes the previous one unless it doesn't refer to the same part of the world. So it's very simple. If I make a will here in Spain for the Spanish assets, we'll be telling the client, if you're going to make another will in the UK later on, make sure you show them this will. And that solicitor there in the UK, in this case, will see the previous will, and he'll say that he'll make a will out in the UK saying it's referenced exclusively to assets in the UK, or he'll say it's for worldwide assets except for Spain. In other words, we all know how to avoid revoking other wills in other countries. So it's just a question of if you go to a Spanish lawyer and say you want him to make a will, just sort of let him know what you're doing in other countries. And likewise, if you've made a will with us and later on you make another will in the UK, let them make them aware. So, for example, very often when clients come over to see us, they've already got a will in the UK that they may have made just for the UK or for their worldwide assets. No problem. I make another will in Spain, and it's at a later date. My one says it refers exclusively to Spanish assets, and therefore it leaves the other will as the valid will for the assets everywhere else. So it's basically all I'm trying to say with this is that it's not a concern. You just got to go to the lawyer, tell them what the situation is. This is people that have bought properties in various countries. It's a really normal thing nowadays, but most solicitors will know how to coordinate those wills, so it's not a concern.
Okay. Pedro, would you like to wrap up any specific here out of the 100 questions that we are having? Would you like to cover something else, or
I'm just reading the following? The steps. I can see from Sylvia, it is advisable to sell our house before or after we get the visa, and when within the year. I think Ignacio, you, in some ways, it's been covered. If you become resident and you become tax resident in Spain, at the end you will have to declare worldwide income. When you sell a property and you get a capital gain, it is an income. But having said that, if you sell your permanent home in your home country, which means that you've been living in that property as your home more than 3 years, and then you move into Spain, you will be able to sell it and reinvest it into Spain in the following 2 years and obtain a benefit or not to pay capital gains tax with a reinvestment. This has some obviously more accuracy on the information, but it means that if you sell a property before you become tax resident, will not have any impact into the tax office in Spain. But if you sell a property the year that you become tax resident, so if you move in, for example, in February, and you sell a property even though in November, or you move in June and you sold the property in January, for example, that year you are tax resident, regardless if you sold the property before at the beginning of the year or the end of the year, will have an impact on your tax declaration in Spain. And if it's not your permanent home, you will be paying capital gain tax into Spain, or you will declare capital loss. And if it's your permanent home, you will have the benefit to reinvest. Well, if you haven't sold it, you have 2 years to sell it. And once you sell it, you have another 2 years to reinvest it. And if you sold it before you became resident, and that year you're going to be tax resident, you have 2 years to reinvest the money, the price that you got on selling the property. Whatever you do not reinvest will be proportionally will be declared as a capital gain. A calculation is a simple calculation to do that. Okay. What else? Let's see.
Yeah, I agree. Sometimes, Pedro, a lot of questions, but we could do the tax planning being accurate. But selling the property before moving over here could be very wise. Now, selling the property while you are here in Spain, I could just put you in the link of the sliding scale. It could be quite expensive. So I think I know it's hard to make decisions when you just jump into another country and give a try and see how it's going to go. But my advice, if you could sell before, if you're committed to sell and probably live on renting or buying a property, tax-wise, it will be always benefit. Nevertheless, you've got some allowance that you could, as long as you prove is your main property, you sold it within the 2 years from selling, you could reinvest it in Spain. But now you need to start the equation, whether you're reinvesting the whole amount, so you're exempt, or you don't reinvest the whole amount. So number one, if you could sell it from your home country, if it's cheaper, great for you. You'll be non-resident in Spain and there is nothing to worry about. Obviously, you could put yourself, bear in mind, you could be on resident in scenario, non-resident in scenario from a tax point of view. Now, the Golden Visa has an opportunity that you could have the residency permit from an immigration site, but you could still carry on being no taxpayer, no tax resident, right? So the Golden Visa allows you to stay back and forth anytime you like, and you could control 100%. Now, the non-lucrative visa, you must be in Spain more than 6 months. Otherwise, they will not renew it. And you have a first year, no lucrative visa, and change into another 2 years, and then 5. The Golden Visa, the beauty of it is that you can come in and out and carry on being a tax situation as you wish. Okay, that's the two. Some of them, Pedro, did ask here, could I swap from a non-lucrative visa into a work visa? And obviously the answer is yes. You could just start coming here. And I recommend some of the clients, they bring their children and they come over with a student visa. And even parents come over with a student visa, with a student program. And from here, we could swap it into a different type of visa, into a non-lucrative visa, into a work visa, into something, you know, into specific. So don't panic with a visa to that extent, because there are a lot of way forward. Okay, but you just, we need to understand your situation and then probably give you the best thought about it. Okay. I think we're running out of time, but we are having a lot of questions that probably we couldn't answer all of them. And as I said, we'll be pleased for you to just watch back this webinar. It will be published tomorrow in our website. You've got a lot of webinars when you go into live TV as well. It gives you a lot of more information, which probably this is not good enough. And then we could even meet each other eventually, either when you are here in Spain or on a video conference. Is there anything else, Pedro, Michael, that we're missing here before we wrap up?
Yeah, well, it's a pity, but I would like to answer some questions. That is a pity that we cannot answer them. There are a lot of, I'm reading right now, many of them. And
the good thing, Pedro, I would say, I mean, probably just making it happen within this hour of time is hard, but we have probably 100 webinars already in the website ready for them to listen, and it's free, and it's our time for them to take the most out of it. So, and there is a lot of, if you go and click in the blog, a lot of articles. So you can
speak our emails, Michael, Ignacio, and myself, in order to.
Jose is saying it's not enough time, but we could be talking forever here, Jose. So, but I mean, at least it is just some general advice for you, to give you the pitfalls and to just let you be aware of this, be aware of that, and as I said, go into Michael's website, go into our website, watch the videos, try to have a lot of feedback from them and articles, and then we will be more than pleased to meet you in person or go through a video conference, and then probably share with you the experience to come over to Spain. Okay. Now, I think Juanfran is going to wrap up with something. I don't know if he's got a nice video about Spain, probably. But I hope, if not, you're not able to see and watch it, you'll be able to come and visit Spain and enjoy. Okay, Michael, Pedro, thank you again for your time. Very informative. Thank you to the audience and for your patience. Thank you, Juanfran. And over to you. See you hopefully in 2 weeks' time here. Over to you, Juanfran.
Everyone.
Can't stop thinking about it. That hidden cove, just for you. That little hideaway in the mountains. Or that beautiful postcard town. Dreaming about enjoying the fresh air again. Feeling the sun on your skin. Exploring. Walking. Traveler, there is no path. Paths are made by walking. Never stop dreaming. Spain will wait.
You're new to Spain and in need of legal help. When you are in a country that is foreign to you, you want someone who speaks your language, who understands you, and who will have an answer to all immigration and nationality matters. At Pellicer and Heredia, you can count on a specialist in international law and a multidisciplinary team that can help you handle all the necessary formalities. Do you want to take advantage of the Golden Visa program? We will help you obtain the residence visa for investors through the purchase of a property or via a business project that you're looking to develop in Spain. Do you need a residence permit? Obtain it for non-profit purposes or through family, work, study, research and training purposes. If, on the other hand, what you are looking for is a renewal, we take care of the whole process, so all you need to do is leave your fingerprint. We also deal with re-entry permits in the case that you want to leave and return to Spain. And of course, we help you obtain the certificate of registration as a European citizen, the foreigner's identity number, Spanish citizenship, and the certified translation of documents in all languages. Because at Pellicer and Heredia, we know that speaking your language is the only way to gain your confidence. Trust that we repay with 2 words: professionalism and commitment. Pellicer and Heredia, international lawyers.